Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of May 6, 2019 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the Township Clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meetings. The fire exits are located through the doors, the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Could everybody please stand for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno. Councilman Casio.
Here.
Councilman Cumming.
Here.
Councilman Ullman.
Here.
Council President DeSena.
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Peter Calamari, Township Administrator Tobo, Township Attorney Poller, CFO Judy Curran, and Township Clerk Susan Witkowski. Reading of total list of bills.
No, that's the next one. That's the next
Oh,
one.
yeah. Report of the mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. 2019 road program. Roads are being identified and cost calculations are being prepared by Boswell Engineering. The intersection, Pascack and Washington, survey work and projected relocation of the utilities are underway in preparation for construction. New ambulance and fire building. The design development phase is currently being worked on. That phase should be completed by the end of May. The architects expect to have another presentation for the council at one of the meetings in June. DMF building. We're in the process of looking for a temporary location so the building can come down and the soil remediation can take place. Grant writer. We're interviewing 2 potential vendors next week. Radio system. Testing of the state radio system has been completed with satisfactory results. Cost models are being prepared for comparison to an upgrade of our existing radio system. Flashing pedestrian crossing signs have been installed near the high school and Washington School. I've heard from a lot of people that they've noticed them, so they're having the desired effect. It was a pleasure to attend the Little League opening day ceremony. A big thanks to everyone involved in all of our rec programs. Without their time and dedication, these programs will not exist. The Green Team is busy at work. They had another cleanup event at Gardner and Cherry Fields on April 27th and took over 300 pounds of trash and debris out of the parks. They also distributed free tree seedlings to our residents. ADA parking spots have been installed at Clark and Gardner Fields. The removal of the oil tank from the town-owned red house on Washington Avenue started today, and the structure will be demolished as soon as that's done. The Planning Board has been busy approving many new businesses in the shopping center with more to come. Please give these businesses your support. The board is also working on revisions to the town's master plan. I was happy to be invited to and attend Boy Scout Troop 321's annual awards ceremony. Being a former member of the troop, the event holds a special place for me. It's nice to hear about everything they're doing as an organization. The administrator, Tom Sears, representing the Green Team, members of the DMF, and I took the town engineer for a tour of the town to get a first-hand look at the projects that need doing. The administrator and I and our counterparts from Westwood attended the annual meeting we have with members of the Board of Education. Our relationships are good, and we committed to work together where we can for the benefit of the students and the town's best interests. We had another successful shredding and e-cycling event. The town is happy to offer these events to our residents so they can properly discard any sensitive paperwork they have and to keep unused electronics out of landfills. At our next meeting on May 20th, we will have a recognition ceremony. We'll be honoring one of our residents who's turning 100, and Mr. Kevin Lynch and the Oratani Foundation for their constant generosity to our town, and especially for their donation of $100,000 to Habitat for Humanity to support the new Veterans and Senior Housing Complex where the former VFW building was. Please turn out for that meeting to show these special people our appreciation for their accomplishments. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Report of the council, Mr. Ullman.
Yes. So I would like to address last April 4th council meeting and a letter to the editor on April 15th by Mayor Calamari. So, there are a number of areas that I think warrant a review or further examination. But I think I would like to focus on just a couple. First of all, I am sorry that the mayor regrets that the council voted to spend taxpayer money on a forensic accountant. I believe it's important that we evaluate the financials that the financial statements of the town. And he rightly points out that we do have an auditor. Having performed audit-like functions as a controller at J.P. Morgan, having participated in audits at that same institution, I can tell you that an audit does provide some level of comfort that things are being done properly. However, it is not an extensive review. It is not a review of every balance, of every account, of every check that is written, of every PO that is drawn. It is done through audit testing. And I do think that there are areas that require further and a deeper review. I don't view this as a political or a politics issue. I view it as something that's important so that the council, the administration, and the public have confidence in the financials that are being presented. The mayor goes on to point out that, we have significant capital projects that can no longer be postponed. Therefore, every dollar should be spent. Therefore, every dollar should have a solid purpose behind it. So I would like to pull out Resolution 19-165. Now, it's only $1,000. You may think, well, what's $1,000? Well, I believe at the time when this was asked, this was to do a bank reconciliation. So my question is, we have employees who are employed by the town that should be doing these reconciliations. Yet we found money in another line item to spend $1,000 to have someone reconcile and do something that should have been done by an employee. So if we want to talk about wasting money and having a solid purpose behind it, this is it. He talks about transparency. Again, this would not have come to light. We would have never have known that these reconciliations were not done, but the administration had to come to the council and request a transfer. Otherwise, it would not have come to light, and, I don't see any transparency there. When we were doing the budget, we reviewed the existing spend or the current spend for a number of departments. The council agreed with the mayor to use a professional service firm to identify an administrator. And that firm, the Koenig Group, identified Mr. Tovo. And I think that was a good hire. I think it was money well spent. However, when we went to spend the money, we went to any line item that had funds. So it was charged to the mayor's budget, to the council's budget, and to the Department of Law's budget. Now, I don't know. That to me doesn't sound right. It should go to one of those departments And as the administrator has said, we do a run rate budget. I don't want to bore you, but that basically means if you're spending money at a certain rate, you're going to continue to spend it, and that's how we plan. So when you see $5,000 in the council budget that doesn't belong there, next year, if no one asks, it's going to get budgeted again. So again, I think it's important that we have visibility into these things. And yes, the council identified it, the council asked questions, but I think a deeper dive into our finances would be warranted. Last year, the council requested that Town Day be run through a trust account. This is money that is built up over time, rather than charge the taxpayers to have Town Day. It's my understanding that many of the expenses did not go through that trust account. They went through current fund. So, that is neither, I don't think it's a control issue, but I think it's, questioned why, if the council is requesting something, it's not being done. And there may be a very good reason, it just hasn't been communicated. And the last thing I would say, and this really speaks to the fully transparent comment, is the former engineer had been submitting a outstanding invoice for a number of years. And this was a running invoice, and apparently he sent it monthly, and it went to the former mayor, and it wasn't addressed, nor was it addressed with the council. And it continued to be submitted, and I can only imagine that the current mayor became aware of this sometime early in his, after he took office. It was not brought to us until the middle of last year. A number of months had passed. And I guess my question is, if we want to be transparent, if there's nothing to hide, if we want to work together, why does it take this long for it to come to the council? I still don't know, although we've been assured that much of it was related to escrow, and that there was monies that was encumbered. It's still not clear to me how much the town still owes the former engineer. I've yet to see a final reconciliation. So again, I think it is, this is something that could have been caught, may have been caught earlier. It wasn't, and I do believe that there is a need to look at some of these items in more detail. So if we don't want to call it a forensic examination, perhaps we could call it a financial services fee, because that's what we call it here, and then no one should get too upset about it. So those are my comments on that. Additionally, the council president, as well as our lawyer, Mr. Poller, have basically warned council members that they should not attend the planning meeting. There's a perception, or there could be a perception of influence, and I appreciate that. At the same time, I live on Van Emberg. I live down the block from a major development that is being proposed or contemplated or moving forward, depending on what you believe. There is no exit or entrance on Van Emberg or alternate street, so I am essentially directly next to the property. And I believe that there are things that I wanted to say that I wanted the planning board to hear. I will take their advice, and I will not say it at the planning board. What I will say is, I'll mention it here. This development. We were advised of it as part of our COA, and I believe that the owner has the right to develop that property. I believe the owner has a right to develop the property as was agreed. However, there was the issue of the pump station. I, as a member of council, approved the use of a pump station. However, I take extreme exception with their engineer basically saying that the people who live there, their shit won't stink, because he said that you will not smell, there will be no odor, there will be nothing, no realization that that pump station exists on that property. And I simply find that hard to believe. I know, Michael, you had made a comment that you work in a sewage treatment facility. I believe that those are engineered at a different level, and I think that if this individual or this plan is allowed to go forward, that pump station should be placed as central as possible to that property, to the new development, and it should not infringe or cause any harm to any of the existing residents. It's not been put in the ground yet, and I think there is every effort should be made to ensure that it is properly distanced from existing residents and let the new people deal with the issue. If it's not going to be an issue of smell, then, or access, then it should be no issue where it is on their property. And those would be my updates.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Cumming?
Now on a slightly different note, and perhaps a somewhat humorous one, we have, I have to report ready on some numbers from the direct install program, which we completed, including the replacement of our air conditioning, and you can see how we're saving money every moment here. The Township of Washington recently completed more than $198,500 in energy efficiency upgrades through the PSE&G Direct Install Program. PSE&G paid for 70% of the improvements up front, and the municipality will repay 30% of the cost interest-free over the next 3 years, built into the billing that comes through and reflected as the money that is saved on the LED lighting will pay for, in most cases, the air conditioning improvements, that 30%. The work will save the Township of Washington $12,702 a year in energy costs. The energy savings will allow the municipality to reinvest the savings to community improvements or other parts of our budget. Work included energy efficient HVAC, this is very efficient, and LED lighting upgrades in both the interior and exterior of the municipal court, police department, DPW, firehouse, public library, memorial, and the other fields, totaling a savings of more than 84,600 kilowatts a year, which is a 55% reduction in energy usage. So we've completed our project, and the first, I just texted the engineer that the air conditioning in the courtroom is not working. They'll be here tomorrow. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to loosen my tie.
Anything else, Mr. Cumming?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Cassio?
I have no report tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Quick few things. Thank you, everybody that could attend opening day. It was a huge success for Washington Township baseball and softball. Look forward to many more years of that. On another note, taxes, second quarter property taxes were due May 1st with the grace period extended to Friday, May 10th. For your convenience, the tax office will remain open until 6 p.m. on that Friday. Office on the road on Wednesday, April 22nd. Assemblywoman Holly Shapizi will be hosting an office on the road at the Senior Center, 1:30 p.m. She will be meeting with constituents and educating the community about services available through her legislative office. Recreation Department. The Recreation Department is looking for camp counselors for the Township Summer Rec Program. High school and college students are welcome to apply. Reminder, high school applicants need working papers to be obtained at the High School Guidance Department. Both college and high school age applicants need 2 forms of ID, such as a driver's license, social security card, passport, high school ID. Please visit the Township website for further information. Mobile MVC is coming to Rivervale May 15th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission Agency on Wheels offers driver's licenses, non-driver ID cards, registration, license plates, placards, and examination permits. Please visit the Township website for further information. Memorial Day Parade. The Township is in need of antique cars and convertibles for the Memorial Day Parade. If you can help, please visit the website for further information. The DeSenna's Super Beetle convertible will be there, Mr. Mayor, so
Good.
tell me who needs to ride and give them. Mosquito control, public notice in compliance with Section 9.10 of the New Jersey Pesticide Control Code. The Bergen County Department of Public Works Mosquito Control Division will be applying pesticides for the control and reductions of adult mosquito populations on an area-wide basis as needed throughout Bergen County during the period from April 30th, 2019 to October 31st, 2019. For more information on mosquitoes and mosquito control, contact the Bergen County Mosquito Control Program at 201-634-2880 or 201-634-2881. Tree removal. If a resident is planning on removing any trees on their property, please review the township ordinance and complete the tree review application before doing so. Thank you, everybody.
Council President, may I have a minute or two to respond to what was said?
Sure, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Since my letter to the editor was brought up, I encourage everyone to read it. It's available at their website, the Pascack Press. I don't know the exact name of their website, but if you Google it, it will take you there. Please read the full content of my letter. I won't discuss the first part because, as I say in the letter, public employees are entitled to certain protections and their job's not spoken about in public, so I won't discuss that. Mr. Ullman is right. With the council's understanding, we did pull money from multiple accounts to hire a search firm. There was no other way to do it. We didn't budget for that in the beginning of the year. So I don't know how else we could have done it other than pulling money from multiple accounts. It was money well spent. The Town Day Trust account, yes, it did go against the current this year. 2018. As everyone here knows and everyone within the sound of my voice knows, we had major staffing problems when I assumed the role of mayor. It took a while to get the positions properly staffed. That includes the position of CFO. So I'm going to say that these things did not post to the right account, but I can assure you with our new CFO, they will this year. And last but not least, regarding the Azalina bills, I became aware of them approximately in March. The administrator at that time started to look into it. We did let the council be aware of it, I believe, in April or May. When she left, the new administrator picked up on it. It was years, as Mr. Ullman says, of unpaid bills. They don't get solved overnight. It took a lot of research to find out, what they were, could they be paid, did the town have the money? Administrator Cavallo did process payments to them in the range of about $70,000 against all those back invoices. And the escrow is still being worked on as that, takes a while longer because it's escrow money, for those of you who don't know, is money that is put here by residents when they want to do something to their house. So it's a lot of very small accounts that need reconciling, but it is going on currently, and, it will take as long as it takes, but it is being worked on. So, thank you.
No comment on the tax reconciliation?
No, Mr. Ullman.
Silence is golden.
Continuing. Proclamation, the 50th anniversary of Municipal Clerks Week, May 5th to 11, 2019. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal services to all. Whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is the most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Michael DeSena, Council President of the Township of Washington, do recognize the week of May 5th through May 11, 2019 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Susan Witkowski, and to all municipal clerks for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the community they represent. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do. At this time, a motion to open the meeting up to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. If anybody would like to come up and address the council, Mr. Sears, just step up, state your name and your address, please. Speak into the microphone.
Thomas Sears, 600 Beach Street, Township of Washington. Good evening, everybody. I want to bring you up to date on the Green Team for 2018. During the 2018, we put in for 2 grants. One was the Clear Water grant through the county. That was $350. We received that grant. We cleaned up 1,987 pounds of recyclable construction, everything you can think of behind the waterway from the library, all the way down past the movie house, almost to the church property. We couldn't go on the church property at that time. And then we did Lincoln Park. We had another $5,000 grant. It was from New Jersey Transit. It just had to be sent in. The paperwork was never sent in, so we lost that grant. That was not Mr. Tobel, that was the previous administrator. We had a $10,000 grant to put in a charging station. We had the grant, but we did not have a letter of support of the Green Team from the mayor and council. So we lost that $10,000 grant. I didn't give up. I found another grant through New Jersey Transit, who was teamed up with Public Service Gas and Electric. That's a $6,000 grant. I put in for that, and we were told that we are on the priority list of getting that awarded. The $10,000 grant would have covered a 2-port charging station. The $6,000 grant would be covering a 1-port charging station at this time.
Mr. Sears, very quickly, we couldn't apply for those grants because the Green Team will not exist until we pass the ordinance in a few minutes. So,
Well, I mean, that's fine. I mean, we just
I
needed...
just don't want to think that the council avoided...
No, we just need a letter of recognition supporting the team. So part of the grant for the charging station is we had to meet and finalize some paperwork with one of the people that install these grants. So I met with the mayor, Councilman Cummings. We walked around the sites. We picked out the best site in this community for the charging station would be in that circle in front of Town Hall, where they could pull up. The station would be there. They could charge their car, walk across the street, get their food, come back, and the car will be done. This is still in the preliminary. We're waiting for the final results of the paperwork for the charging station. So we didn't give up. We're still pushing for that charging station. Our community garden, we dropped off 50 pounds of peppers and tomatoes and about 20 pounds of different types of herbs to the seniors last year. So we did have one incident where the site of the garden was posted, and when we went to go pick the tomatoes, all the tomatoes were gone. So somebody got there. Well, you know, they need it. We're not going to argue the point. We did pick up a new member, Abby. She is out of Hackensack Hospital. She's going to be contact working with Laura in the library to do some health and safety projects for the community. Moving into 2019, we took on a new member, Diane Gamaldi. I don't see Diane here tonight, but she's now part of the team. A great asset, Diane will be. We did our clean water cleanup this year for 2019. 372 pounds of, again, recyclable debris and garbage, Sherry Field and Gardner. And then we got awarded a $350 check from the county. I also joined Adopt a Beach from the state of New Jersey. That is a statewide cleanup. We got awarded 6 boxes of supplies from the state, and pending, I don't know how much money we're going to get back from doing our cleanup work, but the state shipped us up bags, gloves, recyclable material, so we joined that, and we'll be doing that every year with them. We also joined a group called Bergen Hub. Bergen Hub is several towns within Bergen County that deal on environmental issues at the county level. There was a $3,000 grant. I applied for it, and we got awarded a $3,000 grant for styrofoam. Now, there's 2 types of styrofoam that are out there. Let me just show you.
Mr. Sears, you have 1 minute, so.
Yeah, the hard styrofoam is the stuff that Waste Management will not pick up. The county is now asking us to pick this up, drop it off the recyclable bin. We got a $3,000 grant, and that is going to offset the container, the bags, and hauling it down to the center. So that's another win for us. We put
Excuse me, Tom, we're going to collect that here on site?
Yeah, it's going here on site.
To the county?
Yeah, we have a big container. Right now, we're negotiating with Bergen County to drop everything at their site, but we're going to deliver it to Haskell first. And then these towns are negotiating with Bergen County to have a center right there.
And what do they do with that? Do you know?
They compress it, and they make blocks out of it, and they recycle it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's 2 types. This is the, what they call is the ESP, and then you have the plastic cups, and you have the styrofoam that you get your sandwiches on. That, you know, they don't want. They just want this stuff because it breaks, as you can see, kills birds, gets in the waterway, clogs the sewers, so they want us to recycle that. So we got that grant, we're putting that money to work. We started our Safe Street program. That's a $20,000 to $30,000 grant where I have one person assigned to the high school that's on Dr. Gonzalez's team. It's a bicycle route and pedestrian crossing. I have Rick, Lorianne, Pete, and Mr. Cummings there. I'm not using their last people's names. I didn't get their permission, so I'll just use their first. And what that will do is Rick already made a safe bicycling route to all the schools. We have pictures of the intersections, the crossings, what needs to be repaired, what needs to be painted, what kind of signs should be placed. So we are now at the final stage of, if we're going to get awarded, the $20,000 or the $30,000 grant. We put 2 bicycle racks that are going to go up, one in Clark Field, and one is going at the commuter parking center. This is part of our anti-idling and get out and exercise. So we're putting 2 bicycle racks up there. We're going back to Lincoln Park. Dan and I were back up to Lincoln Park. We couldn't do it on a cleanup day because of the wind. It's just cluttered again. It's beyond that. We are also looking at 2 dog parks, one at Sherry Field, one at Gardner. Sherry Field is the most promising right now. We looked at the wetlands, we looked at the IMAP, we talked to the engineer, so that's still in the works, and I'll definitely bring you up to speed on that. We're doing an art day. Local artists will come. We'll either have it at the library or we'll have it at one of the fields. We plan to do an art day. I put in for 100 trees at the New Jersey State Forestry. We are on the list to get 50 red buds and red bud trees, and I don't know what the other ones. Those will go along Sherry Field and Gardner, put a buffer, get some greenery in there and some color. We also took some training courses in Rutgers to keep our CEU credits up.
You're running out of
Both
time.
Dan
You're
and
out of
I.
time, Mr. Sears. So
Excuse me?
I need you to wrap up. You're out of time.
Okay, well, I'm done.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll let you go.
Okay.
Come back in 2 weeks, finish
Can
up.
I ask?
Oh, just to let you know, the scouts through the green team are placing these mosquito flyers all around the lake and all the other things. I got them from the county, so they're going to be working on
Mr.
that.
Shulman, you have a question for Mr. Sears?
Not for Mr. Seer, but, so we're contemplating adding the green team as a department within our...
That's the ordinance that's in for introduction.
So I think Tom had a lot of information to convey, so perhaps the next time he comes, we can get it scheduled outside of the public and let him
I did
speak.
not know Mr. Sears was coming
I
tonight.
understand that, but perhaps, Tom, in the future, you could just reach out to Mike and get added to the
Sure.
agenda, so it'd be more constructive and a dialogue.
No problem. I just wanted to get you guys up to speed what we're
No,
doing.
thank you. I appreciate it,
Understood.
Mr. Sears.
Okay.
All good stuff.
All positive.
Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? In the back? Yep, you. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Mary Ellen Bolton. I'm a proud resident of 71 Andrea Lane in the Township of Washington. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for letting me speak this evening. I've been a resident here for almost 24 years. During that time, my school-age child attended private school.
Yeah, could you move the microphone closer?
Closer?
Is the light on, Mrs. Bolton?
Yes.
Turn that.
Is that better?
I think so. It's the air conditioning noise. It's muffling, yes.
Before I get into my content, I want to congratulate Mr. Sears for all his hard work for the community.
Thank you.
So I've been a resident for almost 24
That's better.
years.
Thank you.
During that time, my son that lived at home attended private school. We have never, thank God, had the need to call an ambulance or a fire truck, although we understand we have that privilege. We pay our taxes on time, and my husband made me promise that I would mention that the ladies in that office are absolutely fabulous. He enjoys coming and visiting with them. We put our garbage out for collection, and we pay for our garbage and our plastic purple bags. However, this has all been in a cooperative venture, and the cul-de-sac that I live on could not be a nicer community to reside in. Almost 3 years ago, I retired from my full-time job and was quickly invited by a colleague to join the Westwood Community Center Forever Young program. I assured her that I was not entitled to that privilege because I lived in the township. And she said, "No, no, no, you're welcome here." When I registered for my exercise classes, I was assured again that not only was I welcome, but that there was a cooperative working relationship between the council in Westwood and the council of the township. I currently enjoy 3 cardio classes a week, 1 strength training, and 1 yoga class. Dr. Cassio, of all people, I'm sure you appreciate the importance of exercise, especially for seniors. In addition, we are enjoying a very cooperative working relationship in not only keeping physically fit, but the camaraderie that we've developed with the other individuals that participate. Socialization is important to everyone, regardless of our age. On April 25th, I received an email from your part-time recreation director asking for my phone number. And I must confess, I don't usually give up my phone number to strangers. So I emailed back and asked if we could correspond through email, and I have yet to receive a response. On May 3rd, I received an email from the Westwood Recreation Director informing me that we no longer have the luxury of attending without a fee. So I come here tonight to ask what happened to the cooperative working relationship between Westwood and the township. I understood that that existed for almost a decade. Has the township been made aware of this issue?
No, we have not.
So,
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, Ms.
Well, I have,
Well, the
just
council.
just recently, yes.
The council has not been made aware of it.
so,
So the mayor,
I can speak to it if you'd like,
okay, I have another colleague with me. Would you like her to come up? No?
whichever you prefer.
So we're representing 14 individuals, a small number in comparison to the Westwood residents, but we've enjoyed this experience. I for 3 years, but Anita, how long?
Anita, if you could just state your full name and your address, please. Yes, is the green light on? Is the light on?
Yes. Is it supposed to be green?
I don't know, maybe red.
It's red.
Red.
Pull the microphone towards you.
Should be green, should
I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
There you are.
That one works.
Excellent.
Anita Robertson, 355 Calvin Street, Township of Washington.
Mrs. Robertson, before you go any further, Mr. Mayor, can you make us aware of what's going on here before we let
Of course.
Mrs. Robertson?
Yes. The Westwood Rec Department asked for a meeting with Mr. Sedekase and I after our town budget was already completed to say that they could no longer offer the town residents a free program like they do their Westwood residents. Obviously, we were not happy with that because we didn't budget money for that program, because they hadn't come to us before the budget was done. So therefore, we had to tell them that although we appreciated what they did during the years, for the rest of this year, we could not subsidize the program. Had they asked us sooner in the year, we could have put money in the budget for it. That being said, we also agreed in that meeting that we are working on bigger plans to share between the township and Westwood rec departments, looking at a broad range of programs to come up with fee structure for next year's budget. So we're hoping that this is only a temporary setback. We value our relationship with Westwood and their rec program, but just for the balance of this year, no disrespect to them at all. We enjoy working with them. We asked if they would continue that through the end of this year, but fiscally they could not. And like I said, it was too late in our budget process. Our budget was already done, and it's being approved at our next meeting. But it was just something that we could not budget for. So that's the story in a nutshell.
Do we know how much money they, what the cost?
It was about $4,000.
For 14 individuals?
Yes.
I have, excuse me,
Go ahead, Mr.
I
Robertson.
have flyers.
I'm sorry, I am perplexed that we just found out about this tonight and weren't
I
made
have
aware.
flyers for all the members of the programs, of the classes that are offered. And I also have the sheets, how much is going to be asked to pay per class, per resident,
How much?
if you would like them.
Yes, please. You want to make a statement, Mrs. Robertson, and
I
then you can
would.
hand them out this way.
Fine,
You
thank
don't
you.
have to get up and down, and you can hand them out when you're done.
Thank you.
I'm still sorry that the both of you had to come here to tell us this. I wish we would have been told by administration.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My husband Jim and I moved to Township 12 years ago.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
Being retired and new to the area, I was looking for some local activities. In either the Pack-Scac Press or Community News, I found an ad advertising an aerobic class for seniors at Westwood Community Center. At the time of registration, I was told that since I lived in the township, there would not be a charge, being that there was reciprocity between the two communities. I didn't expect that, but thought, isn't that nice? Besides actually exercising, I have forged many friendships, which studies tell us are two very important components to healthy living. Over the years, the program took off and is now known as the Forever Young program. I have flyers and charges that they are going to request. I also suggest visiting the classes in person to actually see for yourselves what is available to us. After 7 years, I was told I will now be considered a non-resident, which is true. And in order to participate, a fee is required. I understand there are now 15 Township residents in the program. I, for one, presently attending 2 classes, have participated in a variety of offerings, trying out what felt right for me. I cannot speak for the rest of us, but placing the cost on us will certainly limit the classes I take. Therefore, I'm asking the mayor and council to contribute to the Forever Young program in Westwood for your township residents. We are a group, we seniors, that is living longer and healthier because we are trying. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberts.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
We will be discussing this, and we'll discuss it with the administration and try to come to a resolution on something. My cell phone is on the website. You can call me anytime, and I'll fill you in, or you can contact the mayor once we come to a resolution on this. But it was just this is the first, as it came out of Mrs. Bolton's mouth, is the first that this council is hearing of it. I know the mayor was told about it, but we did not know about it until now. So we will work to try to come to some kind of agreement and try to help you, as I don't know what we'll be able to resolve, but we will try to get something done.
Thank you, sir.
You know,
So not only do we encourage you to continue that cooperative working relationship with Westwood, but continue the investment in your senior citizens that live here in your community.
Of course, yes.
What's that?
Mrs. Bolton, we've talked a long time about working with Westwood and their recreation department, since we have a school system together, as you well know. And,
Yes.
and it is Nurse Appreciation Week, and I want to
Yes,
thank
it
you for
is.
your
Thank you.
25 years of service of being the nurse in the elementary schools here in the township. We appreciate your service, your past service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But, you know, we've talked about combining, yes, we've talked about combining some departments with Westwood at times over the years. And I think Recreation Department is one which would be a real easy fit, since it benefits all the township residents and borough residents. So hopefully we can do that. And I'm sorry that you had to come to the meeting, because I didn't know anything about it. For $4,000, I think that's a small amount of money we need to pay.
We hadn't
to
heard
get.
anything about that.
No, we haven't.
No, so
No.
we'll have to figure
With the
out.
Westwood meetings we've had.
No, but, you know, I think it's a small amount of money that I think our seniors have put their time in and paid their taxes and done their dues for the township. And I think there's some way we can resolve this in some fashion. If we have to take it from another line, I don't mind taking it from another line if it needs to be done, if Westwood would accept that at this point. So I'm sure we can come up with some type of resolution, and I'm sure the administration is going to work towards that end.
Absolutely, and
Thank you.
We'll do the best we
Thank you.
can for you.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Bolton.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberts.
just one final comment. As you know, the gap between our last meeting and this meeting was a longer one. I did find out in between that gap. I apologize for not getting the word out sooner, but as soon as we found out, that's why Mr. Sedekase was trying to reach out to everyone to give them a heads up. So again, we apologize to the extent possible, and like Councilman Cassio said, hopefully we can find the money from another line item. But this just came as a complete shock to me and the rec coordinator. After the budget was done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
May I just add quickly enough, it's very nice to see you again under Sheriff Bolton. It's been a while.
You too. Thank you. I've had a checkered past.
Mr. Beto. Thank you for contributing to our township.
Thank you. I had many jobs in my day.
Likewise.
Thanks, Marion. How are you?
Thank you.
Good, doing well, doing well. He's good, he's good.
Anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Go ahead.
Yes, hang down.
Hello? David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle, Township. I'll try to make this as quickly as I can. Okay. One of the things I left off the last meeting I was at, because I haven't been at the last 3 meetings, the sidewalks we talked about during the winter of the upheaval of the sidewalks along Pascack Road, and now we look at Chimney. I look over there going down Ridgewood. I mean, there's the sidewalks like it's sunken in on the corner there where our sign is. Big gaps. Someone in a bicycle almost, including me, but I missed it, almost went over. And we were supposed to have someone in charge of this to go out during the spring of the beginning of the season to go and give whatever notice they had to, that they had to repair their sidewalk to bring it up to the level. All of you remember this. I've spoken this every year. This is an accident waiting to happen. Has anything been done?
Well, I can say that the ordinance was passed.
The ordinance was
Thank you.
passed, Mr. Chairman.
The ordinance was passed to give,
However,
not to give
I don't know if our property
to
maintenance
give
officer went out.
the code enforcement official the authority to do that, because there hadn't been that kind of authority before, but there is now.
There is now. Well, can someone follow up? Because it is the spring, summer, however.
Administration's question.
We are convening a meeting on the 20th this month to go over our procedure and what else we may need to do to shore that up.
Yeah, the main thing on Pascack Road to Washington Ave and then over by Chimney, and there's some parts on Washington Ave.
There's
coming
parts
out
on
from the
every
gas
street,
station.
Mr. Snyder.
Yeah,
You're
but the
picking on
main.
I know,
yeah.
but
Okay.
he's got a lot of work ahead of him.
He's got a lot of work. He should be paid twice. Okay.
No, we shouldn't.
No, okay. Just kidding, just a joke. Okay. I wanted to ask you something on the financials that go back to 2006 when we had a grant that was never used, and that was brought up in the newspaper in Pascack Press. Question is that going to be passed on to the taxpayers, that amount of money that was owed? I know that included Mr. Azzolino. I don't know if he was paid. I was reading an article about that, and I was just concerned, does that stay within our line item budgets, or is that passed on for that amount of money that we had?
You'd have to, I don't know the exact specifics on that, Mr. Schneider. You'd have to review it.
Okay. Well, maybe someone can just check that out? Okay. All right. Now I'm on to,
Just because it was written in the Pascack Press does not mean it's.
oh, I'm not saying, fake
Okay.
news, fake news. I understand.
Thank
Okay,
you for
everything's
you saying
fake
it. I
news.
didn't say that. You did.
I said it, okay? No, but it's not all fake news here. It's good local news. All right, let me go back to the signs, which I have for 10 years at least of the 15 or 16 years I've been here. Memorial Field, I think, is great that we put up the sign. We got the blinkers and the whole thing. The one problem is it should be something that you go on at 6 in the morning and finish at, let's say, 10 with some adjustment. So when the kids are coming to school, no one has to push something. It should be automatic. Let the cars slow down. We got the children going into the school, and then maybe turn it on when they're out at 2:30 or 2 o'clock, whenever it is, and stop at another time. That, to me, is worth a life to save. Just having that rectangle light thing that you've seen like on a police car that's on top of there underneath the solar thing doesn't mean anything to me when it's not on, and doesn't mean anything to anyone else.
Well, the flashing yellows are flashing 24/7 as we speak, Mr. Stein. So
No, only the one.
we turn those on yet?
No, it is not on.
I
It's
mean-
only, I was there today.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Stein and I spoke before the meeting. It was news to me. We'll obviously check it tomorrow.
They
It
should
is
be
not.
on, Mr. Stein, so they're not.
Okay, I'm just saying, I went by,
Because I had asked that they turn on at 6 a.m. and shut off at 10 p.m. They're still flashing 24/7 at the
over
high school.
there at the high school.
What's that? There is no adjustment? Okay.
Okay, so I would appreciate if we can get some kind of formula or something.
We will.
There are 4 signs there. I know they're a lot less expensive over there, as I said to the mayor when he walked in early. we need a triangle. We need a triangle that just says something, stop for pedestrians, over by the gas station here to walk across. I know we have a light with a white little thing that you could look at. It says, pedestrian walk thing. That would not be expensive to have a triangle just to say stop for
You
pedestrians.
can't put a yield control at a signal, Mr. Schneider.
There's no way we could have,
No.
can you
The
have,
rule does not apply to, so one of the reasons I hate this law with a passion is that besides giving children the ability to think that a car immediately has to stop as soon as they put a foot into the crosswalk, where it takes almost a football field at 50 miles an hour for them to slow down.
correct?
So with this stupid law of saying, well, as soon as I'm in the crosswalk, they have to stop for me. And that's what we're teaching our children, which is a bad mistake, but I'm not going to go.
Can we do it to slow down?
No, we can't.
Can we do anything to yield to pedestrians without having, how come Hillsdale has it? How come Hillsdale
Hillsdale does
hasn't?
not have yield.
No, they have the sign in the middle of with the cone and the thing.
Not
that
at the
says-
signal.
It's what?
It's not at the signal.
Not at a traffic signal where there's already a traffic signal.
Okay. What about, let me try one more. What about at the Pascack and Washington Ave, the people that are the bus commuters? I know you have the triangle, it shows two people or something, just up by where the dress shop used to be. Can't we put a thing on it that like lights up or something that's not like prohibitive on price, that
It will
is like
be-
a stop
it will-
sign?
It will be addressed once the signal is rebuilt. There's nothing.
Yeah, but that's
that
2
can-
years away.
There's nothing that can be added to that signal to do what you want it to do.
Okay, that's frustrating.
I know, but
It's frustrating, I just don't want anything to happen.
we had to go on eBay to order parts for when that signal went down. That's how.
Oh, I know that. I just meant if you could get, are we not allowed to have that triangle with a blinking light on it up there?
Good. We just don't have one for there yet.
Oh, so we could?
I'm sure if we asked the police department traffic officer if we could ask them.
I've been asking that when Captain Ackworth was here.
What I said.
You know how many years I've been asking for this, and now I'm repeating it again, and I hope you can do something. I don't want to see someone going to the bus getting killed, and that could happen, because that is so dangerous. And you know this too. I was a commuter for a long time. Now I've been a realtor for a long time. I don't want to hear anybody's gotten killed. So please look into that. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
You got 1 minute, Mr.
Okay. 30 seconds on this. Let me go back to 168, after the morning rush that takes place. Cars are backed up from over the hill towards Westwood, coming north here, after the rush hour. And I said, I don't know how we're going to solve this problem, even when we put the new curbing in, which I'm in favor of widening the thing. You got the left turn, you got the whole thing. I wish there was a way, and I've said this for at least 10 years here, we can't go into 172. The mayor died there, unfortunately, and the wife's in a nursing home, I was told, okay? Can't there some way we approach this that we can get less traffic on this 168 for the people that are coming in to our town? I mean, it's just going to make more of a problem. Even the firehouse has
When
problems.
Woodcliff Lake passes a referendum that approves the right-hand movement there, we could then approve it.
We're never going to see it in our lifetime.
Well, that's part of the language that was written as part of that closure.
But I thought the state was
It's a highway authority road.
highway authority. That's what I meant. A highway authority to approve something like that if we wanted to go ahead with it. Because I had mentioned,
We
truthfully.
can't approve something in somebody else's town.
No. I said we should have a lawsuit, this was years ago, against them so we can help our citizens of our town. I don't want it to be nonstop. I know we.
Thank you, Mr. Schneid, but that.
Okay. Have a wonderful day. It's not confrontational. It's only been
No,
10.
no.
It's only been 10 years, and I know maybe the next 10 years, but that guy passed away, the one that used to be at the other side. So I'm hoping something will be done on that. And the beautification, make sure the flowers are with the memorial on Memorial Day. That I think
They will be.
Mr. Sears said
They
a
will.
great
Yes.
thing. Are there?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Good evening. Julie Lipnick, 184 Infinity Place. Been a while, so I have a couple of issues. One, I spoke, Mike, very briefly. The church on Pascack that took over where Bethany used to be. It's wonderful to see faith so alive in that church. However, when they have a big event, that parking lot we know is totally inadequate. And when they have a large event, the parking that spills onto the street, both sides of Devon Road, and believe it or not, all the way down to my house. And there was one particular day where there was a car on the other side and one at each point of my apron. I couldn't even get out of my driveway. But that's okay. I don't mind being home sometimes. I'll take advantage of it. My concern is, God forbid there is an emergency, whether it be a fire truck or whether it be an ambulance. No vehicle is going to get down that street. My end tends to be a little bit wider, but if you go further north on Devon, it narrows. What I'm asking is please somebody look into it, possibly have some conversation with the powers that be of the church, and do what we do when there's events
Little
on
League opening
Infinity.
day, we close one side of the street off,
That's
right,
all.
Mr. Tobo?
Just close one side of the street, and you will make every resident up and down Devon Road extremely happy. Because the further we get, and now we're in the warm season, God help us if there is an event at the church, an event at Memorial Field. You're going to see parachuting somehow, because it's the only way we're going to get out of our homes. That's number one. Mike, you mentioned Memorial Day coming up.
Can I just ask you a quick question about that? When
Yeah,
I talk
sure.
to them, is it a problem on regular Sundays or just when they're having events?
Just when they have, so
Okay.
it's not something that, I
Okay.
mean, if anything, I would say speak to the residents further down Devon to see if it occurs on Sundays. I know what affected me when they had a special
Okay,
event.
thank you.
Memorial Day. Rudy Wenzel was mayor when my street, I'll call it my street because it was only me living there at the time, was turned from Westgate Road to Finity Place to honor the only soldier in Vietnam from Washington Township killed in that war, that awful war. That being said, flowers, a plaque was bought to be put up on that pole. It has never been changed in all these years. It is ugly, it is faded. I know we spent some money for pretty decorations for the winter holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah. Can we please put something nicer looking on that pole?
We'll
to honor
certainly
this
take a look
young
at it.
man,
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
The street itself has gone to the crapper. Talk about paving, we have another sinkhole. And if you go further down to Woodfield, at that driveway to the lake, and look at that sewer cover, there is a sinkhole manifesting there. So our roads are in worse shape than ever. I do have a concern. We spoke many times about doing background checks on people that are dealing with our youth in the recreation program. Are we doing background checks? Because I'm sure you all have read the most recent Walnut Street resident who is facing charges of sexual assault on a youngster younger than 13, and that is one of our residents. So are we doing
Mr. Tobo,
background
are background checks
checks
being performed?
on recreational volunteers?
The answer is yes, that's in progress. We're collecting the names of all the coaches, and they will all be checked through the state police system.
But have they been done up to this point, or we're just going to
No,
start
they
now?
have not. They have not, Mrs. Lipnick.
Well, that's a crime, because
is.
this
Every
was-
single volunteer-
This was brought up years ago.
I've been bringing it up
Years
for the
ago.
past 5 years to this council, even though I've not been
What a
on it.
crime.
So for Little League, every single volunteer, anybody that touches, has any interaction with children, is run through the Nexus Lexus
I
system
thank
every
God
year.
my children are in their 30 age bracket because I'd be a mess.
It was supposed to be done last year, and it was not.
Exactly.
Our former administrator said she was going to do it, but never did.
Okay.
Anything else? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, the intersection is one of them, and I will come back from other stuff. I know if an individual sits at their desk, whether it be in public sector or private sector, but if you sit at your desk and you don't do your job, you could be fired for what's called theft of service. Why can't taxpayers do it to the government? That intersection being the biggest flaw in this town. My husband was coming home from work recently. It has cost us $1,000 in car repair. He hit a pothole at that intersection. Fortunately, made it home, came in the house. Wait till you see what happened to my car. But it walked out, the tire was flat. We had a call for roadside assistance. They pulled a cable about this long out of his tire with a blade at the end. Where'd that come from? Heaven? I mean, it is deplorable. You drive on Ridgewood by the high school. That's like going down another amusement park. So is Washington. You talk about the exit, well, I'll tell you what I do. I no longer travel Washington Avenue. I go right through, and I now drive up through Woodcliff Lake. I don't care. It takes me 5 extra minutes. But this is all ridiculous. It's all theft of service. Michael, Councilman DeSena, you mentioned these grants that we got for projects. I've been watching on TV, and you say that that work never got done. So now taxpayers are going to have to be taxed again on these very same projects. That's disgusting.
It is.
Absolutely, positively disgusting. So what I'm saying, every taxpayer around, put your tax money in escrow. I'll be happy to pay my school tax. Our county executive came out and made a statement that he wants to raise county taxes now too because, Bergen County people deserve better. What have we been paying for all these years? So if I put my municipal and I put my county tax in escrow, you give me services, I'll release my money. I think that's what we should all do. And maybe people will wake up because this is just total theft of service. And maybe the former administrations should be brought to task. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerber. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time?
Make a motion.
Motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Under ordinances, adoption second reading, ordinance number 19-06, calendar year 2019, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Resolution number 19-194, authorizing second reading and opening a public hearing for ordinance number 19-06. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Would anybody like to discuss ordinance 19-06? Anyone from the public? Seeing no one, motion to close public hearing for ordinance number 19-06.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Motion to adopt ordinance number 19-06 at second reading by title. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Introduction under first reading, ordinance number 19-08, an ordinance under Chapter 55 of the Code of Township of Washington, setting forth the range of compensation and manner of payment of employees for the year 2019. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 19-08 at first reading by title. Motion? Anyone? Motion?
So moved.
Anyone second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah. There were two changes on the one that was in my packet and the one that was on the dais. Want to know why those two changes are such? Two changes are on,
So you didn't read the email?
what? No, I
Can
didn't
you
read
read it?
the,
Can you read it?
I didn't read the email, that's right. So, I think someone want to tell me what's going on with those two changes?
Well, one was a typo regarding the salary of the recreation director, and the second was under the Department of Law, Director, Township Attorney. The paragraph under the title was not there. It needs to be there in order for there to be a mechanism to pay the attorney when he works in that function.
What function is that?
Litigation.
So that changed from last year?
It was not in last year's ordinance that I saw, but it was in prior years.
That's right, it was taken out last year. So it wasn't a typo from last year.
I didn't call it a typo. I said it wasn't there.
I'm sorry?
I didn't call it a typo. I said it was not there.
And was a request to put up in by someone?
We have budgeted the line item for the litigation, so the mechanism to pay bills via there.
Is that $10,000 line item you're talking about, Mr. Tobin?
I believe it was 12.5.
12.5? Anything else, Mr. Ullman, Mr. Cumming, you have any other comments?
No, sir.
My only comment would be that when this was initially introduced, which was, I don't know, back in February, perhaps? I had requested that that paragraph be added. In subsequent budget meetings, there were a number of discussions around that, and it was clear to me that a majority of the council did not support that that be added. So my only question is, there is an additional line item that was added, or budgeted. There was monies added to the budget. And my understanding for those monies were the ancillary expenses related to litigation, things like
They were for
FedEx,
fees.
serving papers, copies of reports,
Stenographer, stuff like
these types of things.
Outside expenses.
Yes. So my question is that what that is supposed to represent? Because to me, it doesn't. So I think if we're going to put this in, there has to be monies to be charged against. And if that's the 10.5, or the 12.5, excuse me, then that's that understanding. But is that what that?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
But that's not what it states. It states that it's an hourly rate paid to the attorney of $135. It doesn't state that it's for ancillary services. FedEx, serving court papers, copies, things of that nature. And that's what it's supposed to represent.
Okay. All right, so let me just clarify something, okay? So it's not, that was not for the FedEx and filing fees. It was not. It was actually, Mr. Ullman had brought up, the last time it was, this ordinance was brought up, and to put back that clause that had been there since the 1970s.
That's
okay?
right.
It went out last year.
Right.
And he brought up the idea that work was being done for litigation and related matters that that I do as the attorney, and that it should be compensated. If you remember, the
That's-
number that was thrown out was higher than the 12.5, and then it came back to me that the 12, or discussions that I had heard anyway, budget-wise, was that it was reduced to 12.5 from, I think the administration had put in 20,000, if I'm not mistaken, was the original number?
I believe
Okay.
so.
There was also, and from what I had understood, that money was approved. So the mechanism to pay that money, and it's for litigation, and pursuant to what was brought up by Mr. Ullman and what had been there for the last umpteen years, that's why that wording was put back in.
Yeah, but
Wait a second, we did have a discussion, one of the previous meetings, that certainly things like filing fees, deposition expenses, service fees, things of that nature would be paid, but that was not the amount for that line item was not for just those expenses. It was for the services. So
That's correct. That did come up because Mr. Ullman, he thought that we'd put it back in there. And the council discussed it, and that was not an option. And it never went back in.
So if the council is not in favor of it, then you have to take it out again, I suppose.
Well, apparently it wasn't in favor because the original draft didn't have it in.
I think the draft by Mr. Tovo was done based on last year's ordinance. He was not aware that the mechanism for payment of litigation expenses was to put that wording back in. So with that, from his point of view, it was just an oversight. Is that correct, Mr. Tovo?
That is.
Okay, and that's why it was put back in. If you're not in favor of it, take it out.
I'm personally not in favor of it.
Mr. Tovo, one of the other things I would ask is, do we have the organizational chart that puts the name to all these positions that we had asked for completed?
It is nearly complete. I can put it together for you for next meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to table this until we receive that chart. Is that okay with everybody? Mr. Ullman, I think you wanted to see the chart also?
Well, yes, I do. I mean, is it worth,
Or would you like,
Vote.
I'm just making the,
is it worth voting or discussing this particular addition? Because it's either in or it's out, and it will prevent potentially
well, I think the council's already, I think we took a
Okay.
vote already and it was out, so.
Okay.
Sue, can you just check the minutes on this? So if we could have Sue check the minutes on that, Mike, and then we'll get the chart, hopefully that matches, puts the name to all these positions.
So you want to table it?
If it's okay with everybody, we'll table it for tonight, and then get the chart and the minutes so we can see whether it stays in or out, or if we have to take another vote. Is that okay with you, Mr. Ullman? Or do you want to proceed? You want to proceed amending it, or do you want to?
I would vote to proceed as is with this paragraph added.
Mr. Cumming?
Proceed with the paragraph as is,
Yes,
in effect.
that's what Mr. Ullman's voting for.
I am in favor of that.
Dr. Cassio?
With the additional paragraph under Director and Township Attorney, as is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what Mr. Ullman and Mr. Cumming had asked.
No.
You're a no?
I'm a no.
Okay, so it's tabled until we rediscuss it, so we need
You
to,
can vote on it if you want.
you want to take a vote?
Vote on it.
Sue, roll call? To adopt it as is, gentlemen.
As presented.
As
with the
presented,
paragraph.
as with the revised 5/6/2019.
And that's the recreation addition.
The
or
addition of the...
alteration also.
Correct, yes. The way it's presented, The revised one that was at the dais.
Okay.
So it's got the revised 5/6/2019 at the top right
Yes.
corner.
Yes, sir. Got it, thank you.
Councilman Casio?
No.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
I was a no the original time and will remain a no.
So what would the edit be? The removal of that?
Yes. That's what we just, there was a,
Okay.
it was an affirmative, to my, best of my recollection, there was an affirmative vote to remove it at a previous meeting. I don't know the date of that meeting, but I think
Okay.
it was 4-1, if I'm not mistaken, Mike. But I don't want to, without Sue reviewing it.
I think your recollection is correct. So what, the next step for this would be to get a revision and vote on it again?
Yes, please. Moving on, ordinance 19-09, an ordinance establishing the Township of Washington Green Team as a permanent advisory committee. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 19-09 at first reading by title. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Any discussion, gentlemen? Resolution number 19-196, authorizing publication of ordinance number 19-09 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Welcome, Green Team. Individual resolutions, resolution number 19-197, emergent conditions, the police department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes.
Could I just ask the administration exactly what those emergent conditions are for, what they entail, and how it fell short? I don't mind funding it, but I just need a little clarity on it.
Ms. Curran. It's okay, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Curran.
Okay.
answers, yeah.
If you look at the resolution, I do have the purpose there, but they're all really for licensing
Judy, you're
fees.
gonna have to talk, move
Can't
that over.
Can't
If
hear
you
you,
look at the
Judy.
resolution, I have the purpose stated,
Right.
but they're all for licensing fees.
Was
and-
that because they weren't added in the budget for this year, or they came up, it was a timing issue?
Well, what happened was the police chief came to me, and he actually put a down payment, but they want the final payment due before the budget will be adopted.
Okay, so the money's there, we
Yes,
just
the
have
money is
to
there.
front it
Yes.
until it's passed?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? Under consent agenda, all of the following items have been determined to have unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution number 19-198, authorized refund as per tax appeal, block 4501.01, lot 13, 155 President Road, in the amount of $4,569.05. Resolution number 19-199, authorized payment, block 4312, lot 22, 407 Hickory Street, for redemption of tax lien certificate in the amount of $62,913.13, and premium in the amount of $56,000, not to exceed total amount of $118,913.13. Resolution number 19-200, certification of compliance with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Can you pull number 200?
For discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to discuss it as well.
Okay, so we're going to pull 200, so we're going to vote on 198 and 199, gentlemen. Roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Gentlemen, discussion on 19-200.
Mike, do you want to go first, or?
I guess, it says that I'm familiar with some of these laws or regulations, and I don't know that I know that I am. So I guess, what are they telling us, and how familiar do we have to be with these?
This was something new that Mary Ann brought in last year, that I guess the state is requiring all the towns to have before they adopt their budget. That is why it's here.
And what's its purpose?
Yeah,
It's
what's
it's
the
required by the state, it's
That's what
required
they're
by the
telling
federal
me.
government?
Yes, and I have emailed down to the DCA to find out, because we're missing one person, what I need to do in his absence as well. But this is something new that came up last year.
And is there a penalty if we don't adopt it?
I believe it's
Not-
on
not that I'm
the
gonna say we're
best
not
practice
adopting.
survey now.
It's best practices? Okay.
So do we have documented hiring practices? Because I know...
We do, but they need to be updated.
Well, I don't particularly agree with that, because,
Then you don't have them.
well, I mean, so...
Well, this is for hiring practice, consideration of individual's criminal history, okay. Yep. You're talking about number 3, Mr. Ehrlichman?
3, yes. So it says that we certify that the local unit, which I'm assuming is the Township of Washington, hiring practices comply with the above referenced enforcement guidance. So, 1, do we have hiring practices? And when I asked that question about the SLEO, we were told we didn't have hiring practices or hiring guidelines, because I had questioned, should the person have a college degree? I think it said they simply needed to be a high school graduate in the document, and verbally it was confirmed that they were looking for college or college graduates. So I guess my question is, do we have documented hiring practices? And if we do, where are they? And do they address an individual's rights under to have their arrest and conviction record evaluated? I guess that can't be taken into their, or are we saying that we can't take an arrest or a conviction into their hiring?
It depends on the position and what the offense is. So I think in fairness to council, we need to provide a copy of PL 2017-183, so you know what you're voting on.
Are we doing background checks on all new hires, Mr. Tova?
We are.
Thank you.
Well, not only would I like a copy of that, I'd like a copy of our hiring practice to compare it to. So, or we can add the mayor and the administrator to this, and then we could go down together when we get sued for not doing it.
This has to be supposedly done by the time the
Budget's adopted.
budget's adopted.
Which means I can put this on the next meeting, because that's when the budget is slated to be adopted, and we can get that information to you prior to that meeting.
Yes.
I would prefer that, because I'm unfamiliar with this. I'm not familiarized with this at all. And to Mr. Oldham's point, I never like to sign something unless I know exactly what I'm signing on to.
Can we table it till the next meeting and get the information?
I'll ask the table.
I think we need the attorney's advice on this, too.
Mr. Cummings asked for your advice, Mr. Fowler?
On tabling it,
Or on the resolution in general?
Well, if you needed to have the budget passed, you obviously have to comply. So let's get the law, do all of that, and get whatever higher practices we have, and you'll have that,
Then you can decide.
and then you can decide.
Sounds good.
Thank you. So we'll table it to the
Okay.
next meeting.
And I will also inquire with the state as to what happens if you don't miss.
Yeah, I want to know the penalty.
Good.
Because sometimes the penalty is worth the effort.
Adjournment, motion to adjourn to the conference agenda.
Moved.
Second.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman Holman.
Yes.
Council President DeSantis.
Yes. Under administration, we have the project tracker. Mr. Tovo.
Thank you, Mr. President. In an effort not to be redundant, I won't cover what the mayor already has.
Okay.
Under capital projects, 88 curb cuts on county roads. It's in the final phase of the contract preparation. I would expect to hear something back by the end of the week on the status. Class 7 dump, no change. Class 5 dump truck, no change. Breathalyzer, no change. Basketball courts, I met with Mr. Azzolino this morning to review our plan for both Gardner as well as Memorial. We are going to meet again on site on Thursday, so that'll move pretty quickly from there. 88 parking at Clark, and I believe the mayor covered that, but those projects are complete. Signage, I'm meeting with the sign vendor later this week to review his proposals and make our final order. And no change to anything on the projects on the final page.
Any questions for the project tracker, gentlemen?
Yes. The ADA parking, was there extra money, and we were going to ask if we could extend the parking to the streets?
We had asked that, but I don't know if that's been resolved. Mr. Tovo, has it?
It has not been. There's a request out there for one of the fields because there is some money left there. It's not for parking, it's actually for additional sidewalk, so I'm
And
still waiting
curb
for a
work.
response.
Do you know when we'll have,
Hopefully the end of this week, beginning of next.
anything else, Mr. Holman?
Yes, if you don't mind. Can we add, I know it's not a big one, but it gets me every time I walk past it to come into Town Hall. Can we put a punch list item for the vendor who did the remediation for the drainage, to come back to reset the lights, to connect the junction box to the wall, and correct any other things on the punch list?
We can do that.
All right. And then, are there, I thought if you use a state contractor, that is the best price? Or is that just allow you to purchase it without bidding? I'm looking at the Class 5.
Well, part number 2 is correct. It allows you to make the purchase without bidding. Part 1 can vary depending on what your add-on parts are, what you're adding to the base.
All right. So there could be, even though there could be multiple vendors that are part of the state consortium, they can have different pricing.
On the base truck, no, but on add-on items, they can.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Holman?
No. What's the scope of the grant writer?
It's a fair question. I think the scope is whatever we determine it to be.
The only reason I ask is I know the name that came to my attention and I provided, when I spoke to him, had a rather limited breadth in what he actually pursued. And he was specific to fire and fire apparatus, whatever. versus a grant writer who may, for instance, try to get a scoreboard for one of the fields. So are we interviewing them on a like-for-like basis, or, are we just getting to know them type of thing?
It's a combination of both. One is more narrow in scope, but very helpful to the situation that we're in currently.
Sure.
The second one is more of a generalist with awards across the board.
Okay, thank you.
Anything, Mr. Comment?
No, sir.
Dr. Casco?
No, but I have to give Mr. Tobo the name of the vendor that was going to give us some supplies for the other basketball court at Clark, so we probably have to meet with him at some time.
Yes, that would help.
Okay, so I'll send you his email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bruno had asked for the Rudy Wenzel Memorial Tree. I think every township tree is a Rudy Wenzel Memorial Tree, so I don't know where he wants to go with that. The road program map highlighting, I guess we'll get that in the upcoming weeks once Boswell prepares that, Mr. Tovo?
We have an older version that's being updated now by Boswell.
Okay. Under council, the name change from DMF to DPW in town code, we had asked for way back. Sue, you have an update on that?
Well, Mr. Pollard and I sent it up to Jim McCole and the
Yes.
code, and Mr. Pollard had explained what he felt should be done, and they came back with a proposal which we've attached. I know it was a concern to have it throughout the code book, and I know we just did the computation, but Mr. Pollard, I felt that you felt it was that necessary that we should go forward with it. So the estimate is there. Okay?
In the grand scheme of things, is it really worth changing the name?
No, but it was just something we wanted to look at, right?
Yeah,
they-
I mean,
Do they have a preference?
The DMF.
Code or
DMF.
as long as they get their checks, I'm sure they're happy.
The X-Men.
Mr. Ullman, do you have a preference?
I apologize.
No, I just asked. Yeah.
Do they have a
Strike
preference,
that.
Mr. Tovo? Can we find out?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Sign ordinance, Dr. Cassio, repeal the political signs portion. You wanted to
Sorry, can we back up? Does that mean that you don't want to go forward with this?
We're going to wait till we find out from DMF if they have a preference.
Don't you? I do.
You have a
You have a
preference,
preference?
Mr. Cummings?
I definitely have a preference for DPW.
You want it to be DPW also like me?
I
Okay.
want to be consistent.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's well worth the $2,000 to redo the code and then,
For the first year, I kept saying, what?
You have to
The
change.
who? The what?
You have to change your mindset.
I now am thoroughly Washington Township.
Okay, there you go.
Township of Washington.
It does.
Oh,
make,
is it?
It does make us unique.
I know.
Right? It
We
doesn't
have
make
our
us
own
unique.
zip code. Rudy fought for that.
Yes. All right, Mr. Tova, if you could ask them what their preference would be. A few members of council would like to change it to DPW.
Yes, sir, will do.
Dr. Cassio, you would like?
Yeah, the sign ordinance, we talked about it the other day when we were here. There were some changes I wanted to make, and Mr. Ullman did make a good point that it becomes more restrictive. We're going to have to start measuring. So since there's a lot of issues out there on the federal level, I think instead of waiting for something to happen, we just repeal the political nature of the sign ordinance at this time.
Would you like to have a vote for that? To ask Mr. Pollard to prepare it?
Well,
Amended, we want a discussion and a vote?
Yeah, well, I don't know how anyone else feels
Gentlemen,
at
so
this point.
Dr. Cassio has asked that we repeal the political sign portion, not the entire sign ordinance, just the portion that pertains to political signs.
Would that leave us with as many signs as someone wanted on their property?
Probably. I don't think it's going to end up like, a Patterson or Newark where you have hundreds on one piece of property, but it could potentially do that.
Well, I mean, my brother
Right?
lives in Maywood, is on the council, and I'd like to think Maywood thinks themselves a little more like Washington Township than some of the towns you referenced, and I can tell you that they are literally plastered with signs. And I just, listen, if people want to do it, I mean, if they want to smoke weed, I think they should. So if they want to put 10 signs on their lawn, why not?
So that's,
Mr. Cumming?
I hate to see our lovely town festooned and looking like, I don't know, Mr. Sanzari used to call it the Mexican jumping bean because he saw something on his trips to Florida that looked like the most horrible thing he'd ever seen. And I can't see someone putting 50 signs on their lawn, but I bet you if you repeal that ordinance, it'll happen.
And that also goes to the size, is correct. So,
Although I'm all for free speech.
you know,
well, then we can reach a happy medium somewhere along the way, which is what my original intent was. But, you know, again, it's a federal issue, right, Ken, at times with this?
It is, as I explained last time.
Mr. Pollard, you need to speak into your microphone, please.
It is, as I discussed last time, and I didn't think it was such a good idea to start adding to the ordinance and putting more qualifications and more discussion about the ordinance, creating even more problems. I think it's an issue in terms of there could be suits with respect to them. There haven't been any, but that's
I mean,
the situation.
if you changed it to just allow for one sign per slate or one sign per candidate or one sign per issue, that would hopefully eliminate the concern that you had raised and you personally experienced, or is that not correct?
No, that was the intent.
So
Yes,
it-
I think one per slate would be adequate, because then you won't have 500 for one issue. You won't have
Per position,
for
right?
position. You
Is
won't
that
have
what you mean?
500
per
for
position.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump or Mr. Biden or whoever it may be.
One for president, one for vice president, one for senator, et cetera? Because you
I
have all these
think that would be.
different-
I think that would be an appropriate, an appropriate level. But
and
then
good
again,
taste, and of course, good taste.
and a good taste.
That's difficult to legislate.
You can't legislate good taste.
Yeah.
Listen,
So it's up to you. If you want to go one way or the other, just putting it out there. Again, no matter what you do, as we all know, no matter which way you go, there's going to be someone that doesn't like it or does like it. So just consider it. If you want to revisit it and think about it some more, or let the sleeping dogs lie as they are. I don't want to get involved in a federal lawsuit. I don't think the town wants to do that. Because that's where you're headed. And then from what Mr. Pollard says, there's court costs we have to deal with regarding that would be mandatory.
so walking back my comment earlier, I would rather try to refine the existing to say one per slate, one per party, one per whatever that is, and then repealing it in total, because I think we'd create,
We did talk about that last time, and I
Initial.
thought that was a good, a good starting point. Are you in agreement, Mr. Cumming? One per slate? Or
I
one per
agree.
office?
It's a
And
good concept.
one for issue?
Yes, sir.
Per issue, yeah. Well, if you have a referendum, or you are big on, I don't know, conservation, and there's a conservation bill or a referendum at the not the national level, the state level, or a local level.
I drove the ramps on 208 and I saw them plastered with 5,000
I don't know
for
where-
each one of the freeholder candidates.
I don't know where people get the money for signs, but I know signs are expensive.
Yeah.
If you want to spend that type of money, that's
you would think the one would outnumber the other.
Yeah.
Well,
I am a,
signs don't vote, people vote,
Yes.
so.
I am a no gentleman. I think if you do, I did a little due diligence on towns that have tried to regulate this.
Well, right now you're regulating either way.
I know, but if you let sleeping dogs lie and nobody does anything, but we're gonna bring this to, it's gonna get published, and that we're changing our sign ordinance. And I know the ACLU is big on looking up stuff and possibly pick this up now that I've said it, but, so either we repeal it or we leave it alone. That's based on what Mr. Fowler has given us and what I read in the surges.
Well, leaving it alone, I don't think.
It's not right.
It's not, I don't think it's an option because it infringes on someone's right to free speech if he has more than one voice on different issues.
Correct.
Okay, so I don't think you can
And
let
to this point, how many there's been 0 tickets given to residents that do multiple signs.
I don't think the sign ordinance is enforced, period.
Correct.
Okay, for whether
So
whether it's a political sign or not, because I've seen
First of all,
signs
no.
that are out.
Actually, I have to disagree. The sign ordinance does get enforced. I'm not saying every single time. There have been complaints with people having political signs that had to come down. So, to make the categorical statement, it's never enforced is not true. And it may be situations that you're not comfortable with, or that maybe somebody didn't act the way you wanted to. But I can tell you personally, throughout all the years I've been here, it's been enforced many times and successfully. Now, on the other hand, if you're going to start to dicker with it,
Correct.
you're going to draw a lot of attention to it, and I'm going to further say that you're saying one slate. Well, it's not one slate. How about for state office? How about for governor's position? How about for state assembly? How about for
that would be
Senate?
a slate.
So that doesn't have to be a slate. You could have a different thing. Then federal, and it could be federal. There's the presidency. Then there's the Congress, and then how about the county? And then how about the sheriff?
So
and
what's
then how about,
Mr.
and how
Pollard,
about-
what's your point?
The point is you can't really legislate how many signs or issues you can have.
That's exactly right.
So
That's my point.
So I'm saying either leave it alone or get rid of it. But to start to legislate how many of which kind of signs is ludicrous.
That's what I'm saying.
Do what you want.
How about referendums? How about land use developments? How about how many signs?
Anything that's on a ballot, Mr. Pollard, you can put on there. Yeah,
Just
sure,
saying.
you're right.
Yeah, you could
Yes.
have a zillion. So
You could.
So the long and the short of it, it's either leave it the way it is, or repeal it altogether.
If you repeal it, you take it off the table on a federal level.
Yes.
If you leave it the way it is, you still have the potential.
Correct.
I don't think anyone in Washington Township really is going to put 100 signs on their lawn. I could be wrong. But,
Well, you just invited.
well, it's the truth. The truth hurts sometimes, and there's no easy legislation. There's always going to be someone to abuse something,
Absolutely.
right? And you can't legislate, common sense.
And that includes, by the way, the large signs and how big large
Yes,
signs could be. You
exactly.
could have 30, 2x4, 4x8
plywood one, yeah, the plywood sheets.
4x8 sheets of plywood. So just think about it.
Well, you can put it in your general ordinance, okay? Not under political. Signs, period, can only be X. And then you would take that away. Because now you're not discriminating just on political signs, you would have it for all signs. Whether it's political or not, you can't be 5 by 3. If they have a political sign that's 5 by 3 or any other sign that exceeds that size, you can control that. That can be controlled. The size can be controlled, Ken, but the content cannot.
Yeah,
The size
the size
of
could be-
all signs.
Yeah, but then you're going to have trouble with people putting up businesses with signs and stuff like. You're opening up Pandora's box, is what you're doing.
Well, I tend to disagree, but it's just an opinion. I brought it to your attention. It's up to you to do what you want to do.
Let's take a vote, Sue. We're taking a vote to repeal or to,
No, well, you can either vote to repeal or leave it alone. So just ask for a repeal.
vote to repeal the political part of the sign
Got a
ordinance.
motion?
Motion, please, for
Motion to repeal the political sign statute.
second.
Second.
Roll call?
Okay, we have Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
No.
Councilman Oman,
No.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Does not pass.
That stands.
Stays as it is.
Okay. Thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
The last ordinance under legislation we have is draft ordinance prohibiting dogs from playing fields. Gentlemen, we have a draft ordinance. It's based on the Department of Health's recommendation to remove animals from the playing fields at the Memorial Field, Gardner Field, Clark Field, and Cherry Field. Somebody asked if they could ask to include parks in there.
Was there a written recommendation?
Yes, you have the letters from the last meeting from the Department of Health.
Oh, yeah, I did see that last
Yes, it
time.
was in the
Yes,
last,
you're
we had
right.
3 letters
Yes.
of recommendation asking for this because of the unsanitary conditions that are posed by the dog waste and animal waste on the fields.
I would like to add it.
So do we want to
Sure.
add like Kennedy Park and all them into it also, and parks?
Do you?
They're not
That's-
fenced in.
I mean, they're not fenced in.
They're not fenced in.
They're not identifiable areas of
Okay.
fields. They're
That's
not
fine.
fenced in. They're
I
not,
just-
you know.
Somebody
I
asked
don't
me-
even know what kind of, whether general park, I'm not sure what
I
the
don't think you can do
regulations
that.
are on that anyway.
Okay.
What's the fenced field at Memorial?
The entire field itself.
The infield,
No,
the
the
baseball
inside.
playing field.
No, the entire field's got an
The
exterior
whole field.
perimeter.
Yeah.
There is the hill fence, Mike, I know what you're saying, but
No, I'm asking, is it the fence that, so
the
there's a
black fence or the
Yes.
other fence?
So Steve, and I think I have one view,
And yeah.
you have another view, so what is it?
Ken, would Memorial be
I'm
the
sorry.
entire?
I wasn't paying attention.
Mr. Allman's asked for Memorial, like Gardner has a set fenced-in area, Clark has a set fenced-in area, and so does Sherry, but at Memorial, there's 2 sets of fences. We have the black ornamental around the perimeter, and then there's an internal fence at the hill, which cuts the playground and the basketball court off from the main playing field.
Well, if you can't identify it, it's going to be a problem, right? I mean, you're going to be giving, do you want the entire Memorial Field covered by it? Not just the fenced-in area, or no? No? Okay.
How about the actual playing field? I mean, if you go down to Sherry, right? You have, the fence goes all around the field except when you
Correct.
go into the parking lot. So
Yeah.
are you talking about, you can't have a dog in the parking lot?
You could have the dog in the parking lot.
This only
Well, it's
covers the
fenced.
fields.
That's not playing field.
That's not
It's not a playing
It's not a
field.
playing
It's not a playing field.
Right? So,
The same
When you
thing
talk-
happens at Gardner.
when you talk about the playing field at Memorial, are you talking about,
From the hill to the hill, or the low hill where the fence is along Pascack? But why wouldn't you include the playground? Why would you want dogs doing the same thing in the playground area?
Because it's not a playing field.
That's, okay.
Yeah,
I'll buy that.
I mean,
yeah,
Okay.
I would
We
say
either-
playing surface or field.
Well, that's what Ken has, a playing
Yeah,
field.
yeah,
So it'd be from that hill fence to the other hill, Mike?
So not including the playground area?
No, because that's not a playing field, it's a playground.
But, well, like you said, Mike, I mean, I don't vote
I
on
don't-
this, but,
Yeah.
you know.
By the way.
Kids
by
are
the way-
kids no
by
matter
the
where they
way,
play.
I mean, it's a matter of words. If you want the playground covered, I can cover it.
exactly.
You know, it's not a problem.
This is written,
Yeah.
the way it's written, and
Well,
It doesn't include the playground.
This was written exactly what you wanted last time.
I'm
So
not
if you,
saying-
and if you want to have something extra, we could put something extra. It's not a problem.
So could you include the playground structures at all the fields, so this way the dogs aren't using it as a litter box or, you know.
Okay,
bathroom
now
box.
let me ask you this question. When
Because
you,
there's a playground at all field, except for Sherry, there's a playground at all.
what is considered the fence really fits? Okay, all right, all right. So
No, but it's a playground area, that's why we need to make a determination, do the playground areas included?
are we okay with the fencing of Memorial
Yeah.
fenced-in area? Okay, and then we're just adding the playground structures area.
And what, Board, is it the health
The
department?
police.
Police.
You know, people can tell about people, you know, obviously you're not gonna have a helicopter riding over it, but there are people who see people and they report them. And summons are issued. I mean, it's a matter of somebody seeing it, a police officer seeing it, a citizen seeing it, somebody in recreation sees it.
Mr. Schneider, if you'd like to
you
go
know.
up to Clark Field at 4 o'clock, you can give the gentleman a ticket every day. It's his personal.
it's like every other
It's his
ri-
personal.
it's like-
It's his personal bathroom. The dog is. He goes and he leaves it there, and then we have to go clean it, and we yell at him every day, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's disgusting, and people should be ashamed of themselves. And there's a gentleman that goes down to Sherry Field, and he brings 3 dogs, and he lets them run wild. And then he'll tell you, well, I have to look at all 3 and see where they go to the bathroom. And I say, yes. And he says, well, I missed a couple, sorry.
Well, it'd be nice when we get that dog park, then everyone go to the dog park.
Yeah,
And it will need to be posted.
yes.
So we'll come.
So we okay, gentlemen, with introducing this at the next meeting?
Yes.
Yes,
Mr. Cumming?
yes.
Dr. Casio?
Yes, thank you.
Mr.
I'm sorry.
Fenced-in area and playgrounds, Mr. Pollock, please.
Yes, please include that.
Mr. Tovo has asked, which I know Mr. Bruno had asked that we do not discuss the police negotiations, but are we ready to go into close, gentlemen, if you wish, to have a presentation on the police negotiations to date, even though Mr. Bruno is not here? He had asked that we wait, but I know we've been waiting a long time, we've pushed this off, so at least we could be brought to
Up to speed.
speed with what's occurred, or do we want to wait for Mr. Bruno to be?
I feel we waited this long. Mr. Bruno has expressed his wish to be part of that update.
Okay. Mr. Cumming, you're okay with waiting?
Disappointed.
Dr. Casio? Do you want to discuss it, or we want to wait?
So,
Is there anything time sensitive, Mr. Tobo?
No.
No? Yeah, if it's not time sensitive, I figured we'll just.
Mr. Allman, you were going to add something?
I guess my only question, and I know Councilman Cumming has a bit of frustration with it being brought up, but would Councilman Cumming be part of that update?
Well, he's not voting on it, right? So it's kind of like, that's the conflict part, he's not voting on it. Can he be brought up to date as to what's happening in the town? You know, I'm gonna leave that up to you.
But if it's a negotiation, why can't an individual vote on it?
Because they have an interest and, that they have an interest, so they can't vote on it.
Do those interests extend to having an understanding of a negotiating position?
No, I don't necessarily think that's true, because even the mayor is brought up to date on what is happening with the negotiations. We've gone through this. Matter of fact, the labor lawyer that we have gave us an opinion that said he can be brought up to date on where things stand. I'm not saying that he would be part of you discussing the strategy of what you want and how you're going to come about it. You might ask him to leave during that portion, but just to be brought up to date to see where things are and what the PBA is asking for and what issues there may be or things of that nature. Not an issue about that. So that's kind of where that comes out.
Okay.
Mike, may I make a quick comment, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, quick.
Yes. You know, I generally am. Let me say, I don't agree, because what happens if Councilman Ullman is out at the next meeting? How long do we put this off? You know, things happen. You know, there's 4 of you out of 5 here tonight. And second is, I want it to be noted that the administrator has been ready to give updates the past probably 3 or 4 meetings, and we were doing budget, and so the council said it was too late to, you know, extend those meetings, but I want it on the record that he was ready to give updates at the past 3 to 4 meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, appreciate the time.
Gentlemen, anything else on that?
Nothing on close, nothing on that.
That was the only thing on closed, gentlemen.
I guess we can adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Councilman Canizio, Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President Pacetta.
Yes, the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Township Council will be on May 20th, 2019, beginning at 7:30 PM. Thank you, everybody.
It will be here with the air conditioning mechanic.